Hello there, everyone, and welcome back yet one more time to Not Your Mother's Goose. It's time for another trip down memory lane to relive the stories and games today of your childhood. I'm Topher Goggin, and we have a chock-full show today. We're going to take the lid off the spinach jar with Popeye, go to work on the railroad, vacation with Yogi Bear, and play Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo to figure out who we're going to dump a wild draw 4 on in a game of Uno. Plus, let's not forget we are just moments away from the announcement of the winner of our Tournament of Disney Dining. Last time we were here, there were 8 restaurants still in the running. Now there is just one. Stay tuned for your fan-voted number 1 Disney dining destination, plus the results of a little bonus vote we had for your favorite Disney park snack. Before we do that, though, one more thing. Regardless of where you're listening today, I'm here to ask you to check out and subscribe to Not Your Mother's Goose on YouTube. You can find all the episodes there, plus the Rapunzel's Jukebox songs, and some more fun stuff that I'm adding all the time. It's easy to find. Just go to youtube.com/@ Not Your Mother's Goose. So youtube.com/@ Not Your Mother's Goose. You'll be right there. It's a spot you're going to want to be for future Goose content, and the more people that we get signed up, the more people will then go on to discover all the fun we're having. With that, I think we're ready. Popeye coming up first, then the dining champ announcement, to get that spinach taste out of your mouth. Popeye. What would happen if you tried to combine the Incredible Hulk and vegetables? What would you get? Seems like you ought to get the Jolly Green Giant, actually, but you don't. You get Popeye. To be clear, we are talking about Popeye the Sailor Man, not Popeye the Fried Chicken Man here. Our Popeye is a one-eyed, pipe-smoking occasional mystery solver with a jawline resembling the coast of Jutland and a forearm to bicep ratio reminiscent of Mr. Potato Head if your kids put a few of the parts on backward. I'm not 100% certain about Popeye's ancestry, but I would describe his accent as a mixture of Rhode Island and the moon. Now, it's possible that my memory has gotten a little rusty here, since the internet indicates that Popeye, quote, often comes up with solutions to problems that seem insurmountable to the police or the scientific community. He has displayed Sherlock Holmes-like investigative prowess, scientific ingenuity, and successful diplomatic arguments, end quote. Maybe I just checked this on one of those days where someone edits Wikipedia to say that Barney the dinosaur is also the head coach of Ohio State football. Regardless, what I generally remember about Popeye is Popeye beating the crap out of stuff. Popeye brings with him quite a cast of characters, and I'm not just talking about Wimpy and his attempts to buy burgers on credit. Though as a side note, for quite a while, I thought that Wimpy and Uncle Pennybags, the Monopoly man, I thought those were the same person, and that was really hard to mentally reconcile. We've also, though, got Olive Oil, the lanky lady Popeye would like to make Mrs. Popeye, and she keeps getting whisked away by the nefarious and voluminous Bluto. Whisked is actually probably a little generous and genteel in terms of describing anything that Bluto does, but you get the drift. Also, I must say I'm disappointed that the name Bluto never caught on in the real world. Usually when somebody with a unique name gets popular, a lot of them start to pop up in the baby registry. That's why I see a lot of Shaqs, Jalen's, and Tigers when I'm announcing high school sports these days. But you just don't see parents naming their kids, Voldemort Jones or Darth Stevens, and I don't ever remember coming across a Bluto. That's disappointing. Regardless, your average episode involves approximately 4 steps. Popeye and Olive are doing something. Bluto shows up and steals Olive. Then Popeye tries to help and gets the snot kicked out of himself. For step 4, Popeye then summons a large can of spinach from a pants pocket, which you think might affect your ability to sit comfortably and so forth. But anyway, he wolfs it down, his biceps explode, and the next thing you know, Bluto is now on Pluto. I do have one question, though. How does the weak pre-spinach version of Popeye get the spinach out of the can to become the Incredible Hulk? Because he never seems to be carrying a can opener. It feels like a bit of a chicken and the egg problem to me. But I guess we'll just chalk that up to the fried chicken and the egg and let it slide. Toot toot! Here we are, 6 weeks from where we started. We have reached the conclusion of our tournament of Disney dining. From 32 restaurants down to 1, and now you get to find out who that 1 is. Let's review where we were as of last time. At that point, we'd pared the field down to what we were calling the Plate 8, 2 destinations in each of our 4 brackets. Starting in the parks, that meant that the top-seeded sci-fi dine-in theater had reached the end of its collision course with number 2 Le Cellier, and something had to give. In this case, it was stakes over shakes, making Le Cellier your number 1 in-park restaurant at Disney and sending it on to the Feastly 4. Waiting for it in the semis was the winner of the quick service division, where we clearly underseeded Flame Tree Barbecue out at Animal Kingdom. Despite only starting in the 5 slot, Flame Tree microwaved Pecos Bill for his 3rd straight win. Moving on to the semis with 55% of the vote. That, however, was the end of the road for it, because once Flame Tree ran into Le Cellier in the semis, the Canadian Dominator had reservations for the finals, scoring a 60-40 win to claim a spot in the championship game. That left only the question of who the opponent would be, and we knew that it would come from either the Resorts or the Disney Springs bracket. Resorts, well, that zone was suspense-free. For the 3rd straight round, Ohana was unstoppable, cleaning out the Whispering Canyon Cafe in a 68% to 32% rout. That moved it into a semifinal battle with the Boathouse, which itself had won at Disney Springs against Chef Art Smith's Homecoming. The semi didn't offer any more drama than Ohana's other rounds, though, as the Hawaiian powerhouse danced the hula straight into the finals with an incredible 71% tally. So, there we were, ready to battle it out for the title, Le Cellier versus Ohana. Ohana had dominated every match it had been in, but Le Cellier had eliminated multiple restaurants that previously looked very formidable. Which way would it go? For a while, it was hard to tell. I kept a close eye on the early voting. It was 35-32 Le Cellier the first night, then it was 50-48 Le Cellier, then 93-91 in favor of Ohana. For a long time, it didn't look like either place was going to ever clear the 51% mark. But finally, midweek, the tide turned just a little. I don't know if Ohana started handing out free lays or Le Cellier ran out of cheese soup, but ever so slightly, the needle shifted towards Hawaii. Couple votes here, couple votes there. Add them all up, and by the end, it was a roughly 55-45 edge to Ohana, which is officially the champ and your favorite Disney restaurant. Now, I have to confess that while I have walked right past it, I haven't ever actually eaten at Ohana, so I will definitely have to put that on the list for a future visit. I certainly was not sure how this tournament was going to go, but I had a big clue, because back when we took fan vote nominations for the field, Ohana was the one place that consistently showed up on list after list. This was simply a dominant, well-earned victory. Also, before we wrap this up, we ran a special 2-week bonus tournament to pick out the top Disney park snack. 6 choices, the top 2 advanced to a final round, and this one was a rout from the start. I doubt you will be surprised to know that Dole Whip proved unbeatable. Mickey Bars did well to make the finals, but in the end, Yellow Soft Serve was just too much to handle, getting the checkbox from 64% of the finals voters. So, that brings another exciting tournament to a conclusion. Thank you to everyone who cast votes for us along the way. We had over 3,100 total ballots cast, and it's just so much fun for me to follow the action, guess what may happen next. Once again, with 55% of the final vote, Ohana is your winner, the champion of the Tournament of Disney Dining. As we look at the calendar, we are 2 days away from the annual appearance of Punxsutawney Phil, who is quite possibly the only one capable of making our newscast seem credible. Maybe we should think about adding a weather segment. In the meantime, let's see if any of our characters have seen their shadow recently. Vail Resorts hires Frozone to replace snowmaking equipment. Honor students from The Ohio State University petition to have an Ohio pavilion added at Epcot, only to be informed that Ohio is not a country. Sorry, folks, I'm from Michigan. Go Blue. And in another piece of news from Central Florida, Cinderella comes up short in Demolition Derby. Visitors to an Orlando area county fair were treated to a surprise Saturday night, stunned to see that Cinderella had come down from the castle to join the annual demolition derby. Casting aside the gown and glass slippers for a fire suit and full-faced helmet, Cinderella rolled her carriage onto the dirt arena ready for action. With a ride sporting the words Gusmobile hastily spray-painted below the number 50 on the side, Cinderella delighted the crowd with kamikaze driving, including a signature whip-cracking collision that wiped out 2 Yugos and a converted school bus in one maneuver. One by one, the smoldering competitors fell by the wayside, leaving only Cinderella and local drywaller Darren Thompson to battle it out for the win. But as they drove head-on towards a decisive collision, the clock struck 12 and Cinderella's carriage exploded into a massive pile of pumpkin pieces. Clearly the loser, a disappointed Cinderella hurriedly congratulated Thompson. She declined to speak with the local newspaper, however, as she felt she could still salvage the night with a win if she got the remains of the pumpkin over to the pie baking competition before judging closed. If you've been listening to this show for 46 episodes, my guess is you're ready for a drink. Now, this might not be the most reputable place, but head to the Wizarding World, and I think they can quench your thirst.
This is your friend, Mundungus Fletcher. If you've got your thirsty going, you need to come see me at my hot, new, magical malt mart, Hogsmeade Hooch. We've got all the deals. It's a 30-pack of butterbeer, on sale today for 4 sickles. A 5th of Polyjuice Potion, just galleon a 9. We've got a whole shipment of unicorn blood coming in on the truck on Thursday. It's gonna be... Wait. It's reserved? Who reserved it? No, who? Just tell me who. Tell me the guy's name. What do you mean you can't tell me he has a name. Why can't you say his name? What do you mean no one can say it? He has to, doesn't he have a mom? He doesn't. Okay, then tell me his name. Oh. Never mind. Not available. Here at Hogsmeade Hooch, we've got potent potables from other worlds too. I'm not just talking about Duff Beer, Homer. Just last week, Alice in Wonderland tried our new Drink Me Draft. She was already 11 feet tall before we could wedge her out the door with the jaws of life. Come on down. See us at our new location on Nocturne Alley. We've got the slickest liquor that magic can make, priced to move by your medicinal maestro Mundungus. It's Hogsmeade Hooch. Get yours today. And yeah, ID optional. We figure you'll just confound our clerks anyhow, so yeah, don't worry about getting carded.
You'll of course recognize the voice of Ben Chaffee, who did our very first ad back in episode 1 for the Harry Potty toilet training books. Back in the saddle one more time now as Mundungus. Keep those magical elixirs on your vocal cords, Chaff. Now that we're hydrated, let's get back to the news with another beverage-related headline. Very small coffees offered at Tim Hortons Here's a Who sale. Shere Khan declines guest spot on new season of Tiger King. And also in television news, an important recap from last night. Lost Boys square off with Merry Men. Game show viewers were treated to an exciting evening on ABC as an epic battle played out on Celebrity Family Feud between the Lost Boys and the Merry Men. Since being revived, the classic game show has pitted all realms of celebrity families against each other, from the Gronkowskis to a bunch of women from The Bachelor. Thankfully, that wasn't the same night. But this time it was Neverland versus Sherwood Forest as the Lost Boys battled a Robin Hood captain team of Merry Men. Tension ran high from the start, including a sword fight between Peter Pan and Rufio over who got to buzz in on the first question. After a successful steal by Little John sent the Merry Men to play fast money, it was Friar Tuck who came up with a huge number 1 answer, picking Colonel Sanders over himself when Steve Harvey asked him to, quote, name a famous friar. With the win for charity, the Merry Men notch a rare victory for fairy tailors in the game show world, faring far better than when Jack and Jill had to play the Cliffhangers mountain climber game on The Price is Right. Also unsuccessful was the Boy Who Cried Wolf's visit to Press Your Luck, where he learned that one more time is no more effective against the whammy than it is in summoning people to help your sheep. I've been working on the railroad. It is time to tackle another song, a real song, not Rapunzel's Jukebox style. And today's entry is going to be I've Been Working on the Railroad. With apologies to Rockabye Baby and its cradles on tops of trees, we'll talk about those some other time, this has got to be the most confusing song ever written. Where do we begin? We appear to have some dude working on the railroad and complaining about it, since apparently the short line doesn't pay overtime for toiling all the livelong day. And at first you might think this is like a John Henry manual labor build the railroad type of deal, but I don't think so. Our overworked protagonist is more concerned about the whistle blowing and the shouting captain, so I'm pretty sure he's just riding along punching tickets with that fancy little handheld puncher that makes the little crazy shapes and so on in your ticket. We make it about 4 lines into the song before, I don't know, maybe the writers got bored or their kids changed the channel, something, because then we go from the captain being on the train where there's a whistle to then we're yelling about some lady named Dinah to blow her horn. Unclear what was wrong with the whistle, but Dinah gets 2 full stanzas of horn-blowing requests, so either there is a cow on the tracks or she is one heck of a trumpet player. But wait, then suddenly Dinah's not blowing her horn. Now she's in the kitchen. This is one heck of a train. I've heard of a train with a nice dining car, but it seems like the Orient Express here is set up with a touchless stove, an air fryer, who knows how many Instant Pots. Unless you think that it might get a little cramped on a train in a kitchen, well, our friend Dinah's not alone, as a mystery someone has also crammed themselves into the kitchen with her. Of course, this person is not helping with the dishes, nor is he doing anything related to operating a train. He's strumming on the old banjo, which I always thought was some sort of a euphemism for what he and Dinah were up to in there. But I suppose if they want a fee-fi-fiddly-I-O, that's their own business. Remember, if the train is rocking, or actually if the train is strumming, don't come a-humming. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. As a recovering former part-time math teacher, I can tell you that one of the bigger challenges you'll encounter in that setting is generating enthusiasm to learn things like, say, division with remainders. Long division with remainders is worse, but still, you're in the realm of, okay, 3 goes into 17 5 times, 3 times 5 is 15, then subtract, all right, that's remainder 2. Thrilling stuff. But I think I have figured out how to do it, because remainders are the absolute key to cheating at eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You remember how this works. You need to pick someone out of a group for some sort of usually totally unwanted role. Maybe it's being it playing tag, maybe it's figuring out who has to pick up the dead animal in the driveway that Dad ran over with the car. The only fair way to make the selection is to assemble the candidates and go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Except that eeny, meeny, miny, mo is the most cheat-prone system you have ever seen, and there I am including both the NBA draft lottery and when Gary from IT suddenly gets promoted to vice president 3 days after he's spotted washing the boss's yacht. The thing is, if you understand remainders, all you have to do is start on the appropriate person, go around the circle a few times, end on the appropriate person, presumably not you, and it's a guaranteed win. Here's the thing. Even if you're not so great at math, or maybe you forgot your abacus at home that day, not to worry. There are so many technicalities in this game that there is literally no way you can lose. First of all, you've got the patented word-to-syllable switch, where instead of moving one person per word, you move one per syllable. So, eeny, meeny, that's 4 instead of 2. And feel free to switch between the two systems as you get close to the end if you're worried about where you're going to land. Then if you screw that up, you still can add some optional words at the end just to keep going and land in a good spot. Whenever we seemed to get to the final line, the neighbor kids I played with would intermittently decide to add eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and you are not it. And then there was at least one time that a not at all suspicious, and you are not it, you dirty, dirty dish rag, you, got added. Once I got a little older, I came to understand why I always seemed to be the one shoveling up the roadkill. So, as we see, there is really only one key to winning at eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and that is to make sure you are the person doing the eeny, meenying. Which of course means there's going to be a battle for that role and we'll need a way to pick, so I recommend eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's the only fair option. Yogi, and other bears. It's usually around the end of the year that TV stations start running those filler countdown shows. Best diners serving asparagus, top 20 talking giraffes. We missed our opportunity last month, but I've got an entry for the next countdown of the world's best dressed criminals. You got John Gotti, Capone, Bugsy Siegel, and definitely Yogi Bear. It's one thing to be a menacing bear running around stealing picnic baskets, but it is another thing to do it in a necktie and a matching hat. Yogi rolled around Jellystone Park, terrorizing Ranger Smith, eating the tourist food, ignoring Boo Boo's suggestions that I don't think the Ranger's gonna like this, and of course going 100% Lake Wobegon in asserting that, quote, I'm smarter than the average bear. Now, I was trying to figure out how exactly the good folks at Hanna-Barbera made those 3 jokes into a half-hour TV show, but a quick check of Wikipedia reminded me of the answer, and that is that we do have to also check in with Yogi's buddies. That means folks like Huckleberry Hound, who was pretty much underdog without the ability to fly, and Snagglepuss, who was pretty much the Pink Panther without the Owens Corning insulation. Also worth noting, when Yogi was released, Yogi Bear, not so surprisingly, sued for defamation. Hanna-Barbera defended themselves by saying, and I am serious, that any similarity between Yogi Bear and Yogi Bear was merely coincidental. Just one of those great minds think alike type of things. Okay. Though Yogi Bear, that is, did withdraw the suit, but we should keep in mind that Yogi also once said, half the lies they tell about me aren't true. While we are on the subject of bears, we should take a moment to make a note of Humphrey the bear. Humphrey was a different bear living in a park and terrorizing a different park ranger and or Donald Duck. As a Disney bear, I suspect Humphrey actually might have been the more athletic cousin of Big Al from the Country Bear Jamboree. Humphrey had plenty of issues in the park, including some struggles running an outboard while trying to fish. In our house, however, he was known only for the cartoon where he and the rest of the Jamboree got tasked with picking up trash in the park with pokey sticks, developing an elaborate dance with choreography from the ranger to do it. You're gonna need YouTube for this one, but trust me, once you have seen it, your next church cleanup day will never be the same. Finally, we should give a shout out to the world's most well-traveled bear, and that is the bear that went over the mountain. This poor guy probably should look into hiring a travel planner, since he hikes his whole pile of fur over a mountain just to see what he can see, and all that's there is the other side of the mountain. Not even a pile of trash to pick up. He has the same problem when he goes over the river. Interestingly, though, the writers of his song must not have been real talented geographers, as they ran out of ideas at river. There is no verse where the bear went over the valley, over the dell with the farmer, over the parking lot, nothing. We just completely switched gears to For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. It's like when Soft Cell randomly switches into Baby, Baby, Where Did Our Love Go at the end of Tainted Love. A very random ending when you think about where things started. Kind of like starting a segment about Yogi Bear and ending talking about 80s songs. Anyway. Uno. There's no shortage of card games out there to play, and I have tried most of them. You got everything from bridge to cribbage, euchre for my local folks here in the Midwest, and the highly underrated Garfield card game that my parents got to pass the time in restaurants when I was about 4. When in doubt, play the Nap Attack card. But somewhere on the difficulty continuum, just beyond War and Go Fish, you find the granddaddy of all family card games, Uno. Uno is definitely your favorite card game designed by a barber. If you didn't know that, a barber named Merle is the one who invented Uno, and now you have learned something today. Next, we'll learn to play. Many folks think that a hand of Uno begins when you deal the cards and then flip over the top card on the deck. Wrong. Step 1 in a hand of Uno is when a 6-year-old declares, I can do it myself, and attempts to shuffle the entire giant deck of 108 cards. Step 2 is then picking up all the cards that have exploded out of the 6-year-old's tiny hands and all over the floor, and Step 3 is convincing the 6-year-old that they really don't need to try again. Only after you do that do we actually get around to dealing cards and starting the hand. 7 cards being dealt later, this is when you'll look at your hand and realize that, despite the commonly accepted laws of probability, nothing you have matches either the color or the number of the top card of the discard pile, and you're going to have to draw. Since the goal is to get rid of all your cards, this is when you desperately hope that you're playing with people who have actually read the rules and know that in Uno you have to draw once if you can't play, but then you get to give up. If you happen to be playing with your house rules cousins, then you need to prepare to keep drawing until you've got about 19 cards in your hand, because only then will a blue 4 finally materialize. As you go along trying to unload your cards, the fun part is causing your opponents great misery by hitting them with cards that skip them, or better yet, tell them to draw 2 cards and miss a turn. And then, of course, we've got the giant sledgehammer, the wild draw 4. Who cares about using a traditional wild card to change the color when you can do that and dump 4 cards on the poor fellow sitting next to you? As you might guess, wild draw 4s are not so helpful for making friends. But for generating personal satisfaction, they're the greatest thing this side of getting to sorry someone that was almost in the safe zone in the game of the same name. The draw 4 actually is such a boss move that there is a specific procedure in the rules for how to accuse someone of cheating when they play it against you. Now, those are the basics, and it is a game that anyone can play. But if you want to play at the highest levels of competitive Uno, or frankly, if you ever hope to win a hand, frankly, you've got to become a card counter. Not that kind of card counter, though I'm sure that Stu Unger or the MIT Blackjack team could tell you that little Joey is down to a red 9 and a green reverse. I'm just talking about counting how many cards you have left, since the easiest way to screw this up is forgetting to say Uno when you get down to 1 card. Do not let this happen to you, because you know there is going to be some annoying second grader across the table who will take great glee in immediately calling you on it like he just apprehended D.B. Cooper or something. And then there's the 2-card penalty as well. So there you have it, everything you need to know to succeed at the world's greatest card game. Let me know once you've won your first high-stakes Uno tournament, because then I'll help you try your hand at competitive Old Maid. In the words of Columbo, just one more thing. Even I didn't expect this so soon, but I got a text from Andrew Mitchell saying he was already back at it and had another Rapunzel's Jukebox song ready to go for us today, so you get an added bonus extra Not Your Mother's Goose in the form of a tune. For today's show, technically we're going to need an animated version of Andrew, as we're going back to the days of the Archies. And that, of course, means we're tackling Sugar Sugar, and who could be a better subject for a Sugar Sugar song than the Candyman himself, Willy Wonka. Here we go. Grab yourself a box of nerds. The kazoo is even back. It's Andrew Mitchell with Willy Wonka on Rapunzel's Jukebox.
Willy, oh Wonka Wonka, you got a candy world, gonna come and visit you. Wonka, oh Willy Willy, you got a candy world, got a golden ticket too. I just can't believe the people that are here with you. I just can't believe the crew. I just can't believe the brats that you got on this troop, starting with Augustus Glue. Ah, Willy, oh Wonka Wonka, you got a candy world, gonna come and visit you. Oh Wonka, ah Willy Willy, you got a candy world, Grandpa Joe is coming too. When I met the girls, Veruca was a pill to me. Veruca wasn't nice, you see. Violet's blowing up, I wonder if she'll pop on me. Don't forget old Mike TV. Oh, Willy, the Oompa Loompas, Wonka. Wonka, Wonka, the Oompa Loompas, Willy. Gobstopper's what I really need. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sing it with the Oompa Loompas. Oh, yeah. Sing it with the Oompa Loompas, Wonka. Sing it with the Oompa Loompas, Willie. I'm gonna own this place, you'll see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sing it with the Oompa Loompas, Wonka. Oh, Willie. Wonka, Wonka. You got a candy world. OSHA can't be loving you. Oh, Wonka. Willie, Wonka, Wonka. Willie, Willie. Got a candy.
There it is. Head straight for the toothpaste after listening to that one. The sugary treats are sounding pretty tasty right now. Willy Wonka from Andrew Mitchell. Now we are actually done with today's show, but we'll be back in 3 weeks just in time to patrol the streets of Gotham with Batman and check out a new soap from the folks at Woolite that'll help get your sheep white as snow. Until then, thanks to Ben Chaffee, Andrew Mitchell, and everyone who voted in the Tournament of Disney Dining. Congrats to Ohana on the barn burner of a victory. I'm Topher Goggin, and the Goose is loose. Come back soon for more on Not Your Mother's Goose.